Welcome to Module 1, Lesson 3 of Engage New York with Mrs. Richards. Today we are going to have numbers in exponential form raised to a power. So we're going to take a power of a power today. And the first thing that we're going to start our notes off with is a numerical example. So we're going to put that right up here. And I'm going to give you the example of 5 to the second power raised to the fourth power. What this actually means is 4 sets of 5 squareds, or 4 sets of 5 times 5. And it's different, and this is a sidebar, you don't have to write this down, but it is different from when we had 5 squared times 5 to the fourth, which then we added the exponents because there were 2 5s here and 4 5s here to get 5 to the 6th. This is a different question now. This is 5 times 5, 4 times. So that means we're really actually multiplying these two exponents to get 5 to the 8th power. Now, let's notice the difference. These exponents are separated by only a parenthesis, where these exponents are separated by 2 separate bases of 5. So that's what we're looking for today. So if we slide on down here to exercise 1 to start us off, we're going to start with 15 to the third power, raised then to the 9th power. And all you want to do is realize that we're going to keep our base of 15. It's saying 15 to the third power and 9 times. So we want to multiply then our 3 and our 9 and get 15 to the 27th power. Okay. Very similarly, we're going to have a negative here, just like we did before. And it looks confusing because there's so many sets of parentheses on exercise 2, but the first set is really only to hold the negative for the negative 2, and the second set is for our exponents of 5 and 8. So we're going to keep our base of negative 2 in the parentheses, and then we're going to multiply our 5 and our 8 together to get negative 2 to the 40th power. Okay. It is going to be the same for decimals and also for variables. So same idea for exercises 3 and 4. 3.4, we'll keep that, and we're going to multiply the 17 and the 4 to get 3.4 to the 68th power. S to the 17th to the 4th power, we're going to multiply those two and get S to the 68th power. Same deal. Okay? So that is our first true key concept here. In class, I did exercises 5 and 6, and if you need help with those, please come see me later. But for the sake of the video, we're going to skip. We're going to go to the next page, which is page 12, and we're going to talk about the next concept. So the next concept in here is very similar to the first, but what happens when you have more than one base inside the parentheses, okay? And so what we're going to do is, again, we are going to replace or add to our notes here with another example of my own. So I'd like to write an example up above that says simply, in parentheses, 2x to the third power raised to the fourth power, okay? And what I want to show you here is that this is actually 2 terms inside the parentheses, okay? And that's where students get confused. What we can do is we can rewrite this as 2 times x to the third, like that. We can separate those to the fourth. Well, a few lessons ago, we learned that every single number or variable does have an exponent on it, even if you can't see it. So this 2, even though you can't see the exponent, there is a 1 exponent on it. And so what that means then is we are going to actually multiply the 4 with every exponent on the inside. We're going to distribute it, basically. So we're going to take that 4 and multiply it by the 1 to get 2 to the 4th power, and then we're also going to multiply it by the 3, so times x to the 12th power, and this is now our answer in the unsimplified form. And so as we go through this, you will see that it gets more difficult as we go, but we're going to use this concept all the way through. So if you slide down to exercise 7, let's talk about how everything looks here. So to begin with in here, they're really good about separating. So you have 11 times 4 to the 9th power. Remember, the 11 actually has a 1 on it, and so does the 4 has a 1 as well. Sorry, that marker is not very good, so I'll switch. So what we're doing is we're going to multiply the 9 by that 1 to get 11 to the 9th times, and we're going to multiply the 9 by that 1, 4 to the 9th, and we're going to leave it, okay? As we go further, we can simplify further, but for today, we want to write it in that exponential form. Exercise 8 then, very similar, only there's already exponents on our 3 and our 7. So we're going to multiply the 5 by the 2 to get 3 to the 10th. And then we're going to multiply the 5 by the 4 to get times 7 to the 20th. And again, there's our answer. Okay, where we start getting a little more confused is when we hit exercise 9. And the reason students get more confused is math people will write things as small as they possibly can. So what's missing in here is there's actually a times sign in there. This is really 3 squared times, and I'm going to write a little tiny dot there, a to the 5th power. Now, I'm going to take that out. You're going to do it the same way. You're going to distribute the 5 to the 2 and the 4. So you're really going to get 3 to the 10th times, and you don't even have to write the times sign in math. You can just write a to the 20th, and it's the same deal. So math people tend to write things as small as possible, and so it's going to get smaller as we get through. So if you look at exercise 10, that's about as small as it gets. There is no time sign in the middle here, but what this really says is 5 times x to the 7th power. And as we talked about earlier, that 5 really has a 1 on it, and so does that x. So we're going to distribute the 7 to both. So it's really 5 to the 7th, x to the 7th. Okay? Exercise 11, same situation, only now we actually have 3 terms. We actually have a 5 to the 1 power, an x to the 1 power, and a y to the 2nd power, all raised to the 7th power. So you have to be careful here. The one that gets missed is the x in the middle. And you distribute the 7 to the 1, this one, and the 2 to get you 5 to the 7th, x to the 7th, y to the 14th. Sorry, I have a little hole right there, so I didn't want to write on there. Okay? And so that's how we do all of these. I'm going to leave exercise 12 for you to do yourself. I will tell you the answer after I finish here so that you can check your answer. But exercise 13 is our last concept. And I really am unsatisfied with the example given. So I'm going to, again, give you a different example, actually 2 of them, and then we'll work with that. So the examples I'm going to use are this. I'm going to start with a simple example and then work our way to a little bit harder one. So I want to use 5x to the 2nd power over 7, raised to the 4th power. So let's start there. With a fraction, now you have to work with the numerator and the denominator. So what you see here is actually 5 to the 1, x to the 2, over 7 to the 1 raised to the 4th power. So now you are going to distribute that 4 to all of the exponents in the numerator and the denominator. So what you have is actually 3 spots that it's getting distributed to. So you get 5 to the 4th power, x to the 8th, because you have to multiply the 4 and the 2, over 7 to the 4th power. And that can be simplified further later, but for today, we just want to focus on distributing that exponent, okay? And they get more difficult looking, but I say looking because it's the same concept, just more terms. So if I slide my paper over here a little bit so I have space, let's do a second example here. So let's do 2xy to the 4th, ooh, that's a 4, over 3x to the third, y to the seventh, all raised to the second power. Okay? And so at first glance, it looks like this is a hot mess, but in actuality, you have 6 spots to distribute to. You have a 1 on the 2 that it needs to get distributed to. You have a 1 on the x and a 4 on the y. And then you have a 1 on this 3 down here and a 3 on the x and a 7 on the y. So this becomes 2 to the second power, x to the second power, y to the 8th power on the top, over 3 to the second power, x to the 6th power, y to the 14th power on the bottom. And for today, we are leaving it that way. It does simplify further. However, we are just focusing on the distribution today. So that's the last key concept. Now, for those of you that did exercise 12 on your own, let's go back and make sure you got the right answer here. So I'm going to slide that back down. The answer to exercise 12 should have been a to the 8th power, b to the 4th. Don't forget there's a 1 on that b in there, and then c to the 12th, and that's the final. Okay, so hopefully that helps you in your homework this evening, which is not actually in the packet. The homework you're looking for Mrs. Richards' class looks like this. It's called Powers of Products and Quotients. I know that it's numbered a little bit weird on here. It's because I took 2 sheets and melded them into one instead of doing one side of each kind. So hopefully you can find that in the link below. If you have any questions, please see me before school or email me. Have a great day.